Do you know what you just got yourself into? Do you know who I am? Do you know who my uncle is?
Yes, I do.
Back in the year 2003, I was browsing an old video hosting site, Metacafe. I usually went through there as people would always post full movies and things you couldn't really find on YouTube at the time, since it didn't really exist yet. However, one day, while looking through some animated stuff, I stumbled on a weird thumbnail with a bunch of what I thought to be potatoes at the time, but actually coffee beans holding a bunch of guns. And that's when I discovered Killer Bean 2: The Party. It's about a bean named Killer Bean shooting up a warehouse all because they won't turn down their damn music.
Hello? Yeah, you mind turning down that music? I'm trying to get some sleep.
For a premise that stupid, I was absolutely blown away when I first saw this. It was unlike anything I had seen at the time, as I had never seen anybody attempt a fully animated CG short like this before. Its action was spot on, funny yet cheesy dialogue, and pretty fluid animation. It eventually became one of my favorite things to watch on the internet for a long time, and sort of inspired me to get into animation in middle school. Until I realized how hard it was. Still, for a 7-minute short, it holds a special place in my heart for being one of the first things I discovered in the early days of video hosting.
Who are you? Just a bean trying to get some sleep.
One of my favorite things I always liked to make fun of in this short was how the hell do they shoot their guns with no bloody triggers? And this part here. Every time I rewatch this thing, I always get goosebumps. Killer Bean is a friggin' badass in this thing. It was a short time after watching Killer Bean 2, I of course had to find the original, which wasn't an easy find back then before the days of YouTube. So I tried and tried and tried, and couldn't find it at all. However, fast forward 3 years later, and somebody on YouTube posted the original Killer Bean short. Sure, it's only about 3 minutes, but my god, my 8-year-old self could not contain my excitement, as I really wanted to know more about the character and the crazy action that comes with it. And oh god, those character designs. Yeah, it was 96, I'll cut it some slack.
It's the Killer Bean. You're all dead. What do we do, boss? Run!
Compared to the sequel, the original used flat colors and more cartoony body types for the characters, which I personally like a lot more as it made every bean stand out more on screen. But I can understand the change in design as the sequel was going for a more grounded and realistic style to it. But of course, the action in this thing is high tier as always.
Still got it.
Did I mention that these were done by one guy? Yeah, Jeff Liu is his name. He made Killer Bean to help him learn animation, which only proceeded to garner him 1 million views on iFilm back in 2000. Back then, this was quite the feat to achieve, as YouTube was not a full thing yet.
After 3 years, and I released it on iFilm, and all of a sudden it just blew up. It just took off, and it got about 1 million views in 6 months, which was pretty big for back then. That was back in 2000. And I started getting calls from people in Hollywood, like agents and managers and all that stuff, and studios like saying, oh, blah, 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 blah. I was getting all excited, and I was like, oh man, I'm gonna become a director. I'm gonna start making my own movies. But I found out that all that blah 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 was really, that was all it was, just talk. So nothing really happened.
I highly recommend everyone watch this documentary, as it perfectly describes the whole process that it took just him to do all of this. I will link it in the description for anyone that's curious. Now, some time passes after I've watched Killer Bean 1 and 2. I rewatched them a few times over the years, hoping for an eventual third short to give me more of that Bean action goodness. It was also around this time I started checking out Jeff Liu's other creations, like Concussion, which was another awesome action short that... Oh, wait, he never finished that. Shit. It was also around this time I was frequenting Newgrounds quite a bit, watching action shorts like Bunny Kill and the typical stick fighting animations, but still hoping for the dream, which was Killer Bean 3.
False. No way. Not this time. We created it.
It wouldn't be until April of 2009 when the official Killer Bean YouTube channel uploaded a trailer for Killer Bean Forever, a feature-length film starring Killer Bean with upscaled high-octane action and a new fresh coat of paint. I was incredibly hyped. So hyped that me and my younger brother could not stop talking about it.
Dramatic entrance. Dramatic entrance.
So, we waited for the day to arrive, and come December 2009, the film released. And my God, was it worth the wait. The characters, the action, the music, everything was pitch perfect here. Killer Bean Forever did one thing that I actually really wanted out of the series, and it was having some backstory and lore to it. The story was pretty simple upon retrospect, but in my opinion it still holds up as a gripping narrative all the way through. One thing that this film did that really gave it some personality was Killer Bean himself. Sure, in like the past two shorts he just sounded like this jagoff.
Ooh, you're dead.
Just shut up and give me that CD.
But in Forever, he finally had a badass voice and personality that wasn't the creator doing it for the sake of it. He is voiced by Vegas E. Tripp, and he freaking sells it.
What the hell is going on out there?
KB isn't the only cool character in this film. Detective Cromwell, Vegan, and Jet Bean are to name a few. Seeing these characters interact and fight each other really brought some serious stakes that I never would have expected out of a one-man production such as this.
It was easy. You were just reckless.
The way I see it, you're the one who's being reckless. You come out here looking for me by yourself. You didn't bring anyone to back you up. That's reckless.
The music is also something to point out. As I am quite a nerd of this genre, it is high-octane rock with a hint of dramatic stingers which fits throughout the entire course of the film. The theme of Killer Bean is the standout track, as it fits the character perfectly with the cowboy-like flair. Every time I hear it, it's a sick banger, what can I say? a great highlight of the movie has got to be the mercenaries fight. About halfway through the film, Killer Bean gets shown up by a full squad of highly trained mercs, and the captain starts talking a lot of hot shit for a good minute.
I can see we came to the right place. You made short work of these beans. Don't expect the same fight from us. My squad.
Telling KB how amazing his team is until he realizes that he hasn't been listening the entire time.
Are you going to say something or what?
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry. I must have totally zoned out on you. Whoa, my eyes are starting to water. Whew. Sorry.
And then proceeds to beat the shit out of all of them. And I mean, all of them. But my favorite scene out of the entire film has got to go to the sniper shootout. I don't want to show it in the video as I don't want to ruin a potential first viewing, but it's so well choreographed and directed that it perfectly demonstrates the action of this film. I always rewatch this fight scene whenever I can because I just love the hell out of it.
Well, that pretty much frees up my day. It's over.
Not for you.
I'm sure a lot more bigger channels have said great things about this series already thanks to its ever-growing popularity over the past few years, but I'm happy more people out there get to experience the awesomeness that is Killer Bean. The series' future is looking bright after all, where it appears that a new continuation is in the works, which will be an episodic series that will take place after Killer Bean Forever, which I'm pretty hyped about. Overall, Killer Bean has a special place in my heart for being one of my first and many internet discoveries that I'll never forget. So, all I can really say now is, thank you, YouTube. You made one of my favorite things live on forever in memes and internet culture. So, all in all, it may just have started as a little action short back in the early 2000s, but if you can learn anything from this, with time and experience, you can make whatever you want to create. And that is why Killer Bean is my favorite thing.